afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Suburban Proletarian. I know it has been a minute, as the kids are so fond of saying. I've been trying to stick to a schedule, but I've also been trying to knock out this bathroom remodel I've been working on, and that's been chewing up pretty much all of my time. But today, the grout in the tile floor is curing, so that gives me a few hours when I can't be in there working. So I figured this is a perfect opportunity to knock out a video. It's March 21st. It's the first full day of spring, which means the warm weather is upon us, at least here in southeastern Pennsylvania. And I know I owe you some reviews of watches that I unboxed recently. Today, I just have a short amount of time, and I want to do another unboxing. I want to get it out of the way because I promised the person who provided the watch that I would do so. And full disclaimer, as per YouTube's policy, I need to disclose if the video that's being produced is sponsored content, and I guess that is technically true today. I'm not being paid for this review, therefore I am not being paid to produce a positive review. I was asked if I would be willing to test and review a watch by a company I had never heard of before, Infantry Watch Company. They reached out to the channel and asked if I would like to test and review a watch. And I went to their website and I looked at the stuff they had there, and I was not immediately impressed. I was sort of disinclined to accept their offer. The watches that I saw there, Infantry is a Chinese company. Most of these Chinese branded Chinese watchmakers are doing, well, the ones I have experience with anyway, are largely doing mechanical watches, and they're largely doing homages or outright clones of expensive Swiss luxury watches. Infantry's business model seems to be a little bit different. In doing some research, I found some older watches that were branded by Infantry that actually were clones. I saw a Panerai clone and a Bell & Ross clone that were Infantry branded watches from years ago, but it looks like their current lineup is mostly quartz. It's mostly original designs. I wasn't super impressed with them, and I just thought, I've never heard of this brand. They don't really look like my kind of watches. I'm not going to take them up on their offer. But then later that evening, I had a couple of Moscow Mules, and my brain started to marinate in vodka, and I went to the Googles and typed in Infantry watch just to see what I could find out about them. And lo and behold, I couldn't find one negative review of these kind of cheap Chinese, kind of basic quartz watches. I saw actually a lot of glowing reviews. First of all, Infantry seems to have really good customer service. I had nice communications with the people that contacted me. Obviously, I haven't had to make use of any customer service, but a lot of people say that Infantry really stands behind their products. And that goes a long way in my mind. It doesn't matter how good a product you are manufacturing. If the company that's selling the product isn't willing to stand behind it, it's not of much use. So I read good things about their customer service, and I read one review, or I may have even watched a video here. I can't remember off the top of my head. As I said, I was doing a little drinking, and somebody said that they had had the opportunity to visit Infantry's factory in China, and they were very, very impressed with their manufacturing protocol. It seemed like they were really kind of sticking very tightly to a very rigid quality control standard. And so I reconsidered. I thought, it's a free watch, and it's a $22 free watch. So I have had a bit of a peek in here. I won't reveal what I found, but I do want to unbox this so I can at least get it on my wrist and try it out. This is the definition of a beater watch. It's kind of reminiscent of a Timex Expedition, but it's better for you to see it than for me to talk about it. So let's go take a look at what's inside this box. Specifically, this is the model number MD-026 from Infantry, and it's actually branded with their sub-brand MDC, which I think stands for Momentary Design Concepts or something like that. Anyway, let's go over and take a look at this watch so I can start wearing it. Then I will provide a review. All right, everyone. So here is our MDC MD026 from Infantry Watch Company. It just comes in a fairly simple cardboard box. Again, I was completely unaware of the Infantry brand name before a representative of the company contacted me and asked me if I'd like to take a look at one of their watches. But apparently they've been around for about 10 years, and apparently they have a pretty good reputation. So I don't know how they have escaped my my research. I'm always looking around on the internet at watches, but they did do so, and now I am aware of them. So it's just in a simple cardboard box. There are a few codes on the back here. I don't know if you can scan those off of a video screen, but if you have the capability of doing so, you can go ahead and freeze frame and check out apparently their Facebook and I guess that's Instagram pages, and there's their website. So this is just a sleeve that slides off. It's a cardboard box inside with pretty much the same crap on the back of it, and it just has a lift-off lid. There is a fairly simple user manual here. It looks like it covers a bunch of different watches, how to adjust bracelets and things like that. There's some kind of free watch strap with another QR code on there, and the Infantry logo, and just some kind of cheesy, almost velvet interior there. And the watch is just in a plastic bag. And there's an Infantry dongle with the Infantry eagle on the back there. And here is our watch. As you can see, it's got a quartz movement in it. It's ticking 1 time per second. This is advertised as being a Japanese quartz movement. I did some research. I'm not sure what that means. Well, I know what it means. It means it's either an $8 Seiko plastic 0 joule movement or an $8 Citizen 0 joule plastic movement. But there's nothing wrong with that. Those are perfectly serviceable, very reliable movements, and they tend to last for a long, long time, even though they're very, very cheap. They do tend to be good quality. As you can see, it's a pretty standard field watch style. We've got a chapter ring, which is marked with the 60 seconds. We've got our normal hour markers, and then we've got 24-hour military time on the inside there. Down at the bottom, it says luminous, and I will go over that in just a moment, and water resistance 50 meters, and the MDC brand name on there, which is apparently a sub-brand of Infantry. Now, I was a bit skeptical, especially at this price point. This is advertised as being a stainless steel case, and admittedly, in the photos, it did not really look like a stainless steel case. It looked like a plated base metal case, and it certainly is plated. Again, this seems to be a theme recently. It looks like it's titanium nitride coated, but it does appear to be bead blasted stainless steel. This clearly has some machining done to it. Usually base metal cases are just plated castings. And everything looks actually pretty nice on this watch. I don't see any egregious tool marks. Everything, all the flats and the bevels and everything seem to be very well executed. The finish is all nice and matted out. It's hard to find any cosmetic problems with the watch. This is a mineral glass crystal. You're not going to get sapphire at $22. But it's nice and flat, and it's set perfectly flat into the case. That was one of the things I looked at when I first received the watch. I'm very picky about that, and the crystal is just set in perfectly. This doesn't look like a cheap flea market watch. It looks, at least to me, as good as, say, a Timex Expedition, which is clearly sort of the impression they were going for. There's no lume on the hands, not the second hands, nor it kind of looks like lume on the tip of the second hand there, but that's just an empty space. You'll probably be able to see it as it crosses the numerals. The second hand doesn't hit all the pips exactly correctly, but it's a $22 watch, and I have some fairly expensive, or have had some fairly expensive quartz watches that really didn't hit the pips any better than this one does. It's mounted on a NATO strap. I'm not really a huge fan of NATO straps. I went through a NATO phase probably about 10 years before everyone else did. I was that nerd that was freeze framing Goldfinger to see what kind of strap James Bond had his Submariner mounted on, and I started doing the nylon strap thing fairly early on, and I kind of got over that. But I mean, NATOs are good serviceable straps. The eyelets for the prong on the buckle seem to be sonically welded or melted somehow. It has a fairly substantial feel to it. The stainless steel buckle looks pretty good, and this is black PVD plated just as the case is to match. That would have been unfortunate if we had this black plated case and then just plain stainless steel hardware on the NATO strap. The stitching looks good and solid. No complaints there. Let's see what's behind this NATO strap. And we've got a press-on case back. That's not too impressive, but it's not a huge detriment. We've got a little bit of a nail nick there for getting in with a case knife to pry the back off when the battery needs to be changed. There are two stickers on the back. There's a protective decal, and then this, which I think is a quality control decal. And there's really not a whole lot of information there. Momentary design concepts by Infantry. So nothing really too informative there. And I guess that's about all I have to say about the watch. Oh, the lume. As I was starting to say, there's no lume on the hands. And that's because this cream-colored dial is completely luminous. So give me a moment to go kill the lights, and we'll take a good look at the lume on this watch, because it's fairly impressive, especially for a watch at this price point. So there's the lume. The room is not completely dark, as you can see, and I did not take a flashlight and charge this up. This is as luminous as it got from the fluorescent lights over my head just in the few minutes I've had it out of the box. It's glowing quite nicely. So you can see you're not going to need luminous hands on this watch. I would imagine, I don't know what type of lume this is, but I have found that regardless of the type of lume, you've got Super Luminova versus, what is it, Lumibrite or something like that. It doesn't so much matter the material that the lume is made from as quantity. And I have had a few glow-in-the-dark dials in the past, and they really tend to continue to glow quite brightly pretty much all night. I mean, if you wore this thing out in the sun during the daytime, it's probably still going to be glowing pretty well at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when you would actually need to see it. The one ironic thing about this is really more of a camper's watch. It does have military time on the dial, but you're not going to want to wear a completely luminous watch on a battlefield. I mean, this thing is just going to be a target for a sniper to blow your wrist off. So, but for camping, for knocking around on the weekends, for vacation, this really does look like a pretty nice watch. So anyway, that's about all I've got to say about it for now. I'm going to start wearing it, and I will come back to you with a review a little bit later. So the MDC MD-026 from Infantry Watch Company looks actually pretty nice. When you consider the fact that it has a stainless steel case, it's got 50 meters of water resistance. It comes on what looks like a pretty substantial NATO strap, which isn't really my thing anymore. I kind of got over NATO straps about 10 years ago, but they are very functional. It probably most closely resembles a Timex Expedition. It has similar specifications. It's either got a Seiko or Citizen movement inside of it as opposed to a Timex movement. But other than that, the watches are very, very similar. And it does have a press-on case back or a snap-on case back. I think most of Timex's Expedition models that have a stainless steel case have a screw-down oyster-type case back, but that really, I mean, it's nice to have a screw-on type case back, but I've had a lot of watches with snap-on case backs and they work just fine. And I did a little looking around on Amazon. Again, this watch is only available through Amazon, at least in the United States. I looked around on Amazon at some Timex Expedition watches that were of very, very similar specification, and they were all of them at least or just about twice as much money as this watch. For $22 with either a Seiko or Citizen movement inside and pretty impressive build quality from what I can see at first glance, I don't really see how you could go wrong with this watch. I don't know if I would be inclined to buy this. There's just too many affordable and really much more interesting to me watches from companies like Seiko and Citizen and Orient and even some of the Chinese reissue type watches that are coming out. But if you're just looking for a watch to keep the time, if you're interested in something like a Timex Expedition with 24-hour time and you know, it's got this great glow-in-the-dark dial, which really provides some fairly impressive lume. I don't see how you could go wrong. So I'm going to get this watch on my wrist. I'm going to wear it around a little bit. I'm going to wear it to work. I'll maybe wear it while I'm working on remodeling the bathroom. And we'll see how it holds up, and I will report back to you. And when I do that, I hope to see each of you here then. Later, guys.